Hello, everyone, and welcome to the breakout session called The Birds and the Bees, the Technology Tale of Inclusivity. I am Rochelle Hood, and I have the actual pleasure of welcoming you all to this International Women's Day session. It was my actual wonderful opportunity back in 2020 to be one of the first folks when the PMI UK chapter started this International Women's Day conference for all of us to come together. So today we're going to talk a little bit about a story. I am both a project manager and a nature lover. And so a lot of my passion relates to doing projects in nonprofit or NGO environments. I'm going to share a case study today that talks a bit about how did I use the sense of the two Bs that we're going to talk about today to bring together a diverse group of individuals with the goal of impacting nature. Why I'm telling you this story is because this directly correlates to things that we want to do in our project teams. So let's talk about the two Bs. The two Bs for me are creating a sense of belonging and getting people aligned behind a belief or a purpose. So getting them to believe in the purpose of what you're doing. In the nature world, this means I'm creating a sense or a feeling that they feel connected to one another, that each of their values and their perspectives is very important to what we're doing for the cause, and that they really want to keep coming back to the activities. I'm going to talk a little bit about why we did that. For me, just to be open and honest, I never like going to groups where you feel like it's cliquey or you come, you sit around, you never meet anybody, you leave, you feel no way connected to the group. So that's the sense of belonging is what did I do and what was this process to creating that sense of belonging? How the B of belonging correlates to project teams is that when people really feel together as a team, when they feel that their individual ideas, their unique backgrounds, their perspectives are all appreciated and valued, there's a much deeper sense of commitment and a much deeper sense of what I want to contribute to that particular team because I belong, it matters to me. I feel included, I feel that there's a certain identity with that project. That's all extremely important in the project world, whether it's for nature or for a commercial purpose. The other sense of that is one way of drawing people into feeling a sense of belonging is belief in the purpose. Now, from a nature perspective, many people are very passionate about whatever it is that may be the cause. In this case, it's the wildlife and preserving habitat and conservation for the wildlife. That's the story we're going to talk about today. But in projects, we sometimes take the perspective of, well, this is going to save the company a lot of money, or this is going to automate some manual processes. But one seed that I want to plant here is, what if we connect people to a deeper sense of purpose? Like, what exactly will this do for our organization? Is it going to help us get to market quicker? Is it going to help us be more competitive? Is it going to help us really showcase that we are the go-to organization for constructing mainstream highways or doing cross-country transport, whatever type of projects that we might lead? The simple things from the business case are often not enough to really draw people into saying, I want to be a part of that. I happen to be based in Florida, in the Space Coast part of Florida, so where the Kennedy Space Center is. So whenever you go out, you meet anyone that works for the Space Center, they often reply, I work for the Space Center, I launch rockets, we go to the moon, we have manned space flight. In all of those words, you don't hear the fact that I built a rocket that cost less money than this. I didn't put someone on the moon or return to manned space flight as a result of making a more economical or ergonomical chair or whatever. Their purpose clearly comes out because they have a very deep connection to the mission and therefore belief in the purpose of why is it important to send people up in space or why is it important to launch rockets. They'll refer to things like, I actually help scientific research to help the human race. I do that by launching rockets. So I hope you can see the difference between the two descriptions and what is connecting someone to a purpose, getting them to believe in something from a project perspective, and that also creates a greater sense of commitment to what the project itself is. So when I embarked on this, let me just give you a bit of a background. So the nature group I'm part of is a bird watching group whose actual mission is to engage people in nature, give a greater awareness of it, and hope that they will want to protect it. That's paraphrasing a bit, but that's basically the organizational goals. For me, our national organization set out on some goals for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And theirs was very focused, much like many of us in commercial entities, on resource management. Let's send out some flyers, some social media images. Let's set out some targets from a metrics perspective. What are the current demographics of our group? What would we like them to be? They actually put out a number of webinars and podcasts and things like that to help people understand what would a more diverse, more inclusive group look like. So that was all great. That was what I would call foundational, and that's what many of us probably experienced in our own organizations. Now, what I want to focus on is getting from that to a sense of reality and how I'll correlate that to the birding group. And I hope many of you around the world, especially those of you in the UK, might relate to this is, people who have come up in ornithology, people who have come up with study of birds, we kind of associate them with, more mature in years, something you might do when you're a retired or a pensioner, sort of people carrying around binoculars and funny hats and all that kind of stuff. We don't necessarily see a demographic of individuals who are really young and very, very high tech. And we see people sitting out in hides, sitting out in marshes with binoculars on for long periods of time. That has been the foundation for my group, the group I'm part of. I mentioned I'm in Florida, so we have a lot of retirees. We have a lot of people we call snowbirds who fly down from the north, just like our birds do, spent the winter with us in Florida. But they do that at a very senior time in their life, right, when they're much older in life. So if that's the makeup of our group, and what we're looking for is to have a more diversity from that group, there's different ways of going about that. For me, I started with what is the real reason that we want to do that. I didn't want to focus on how do we change our demographic numbers. I wanted to focus, just like I do in projects, on why is this not important? Well, what I wanted it to bring in is more use of technology, different ways of studying birds, having a better understanding of what's important in terms of contributing to community science. If individual people are contributing to that, what's the benefit to the greater wildlife world, right? The planet, habitats around the world. That's the correlation between data science, community science, and wildlife habitat protection. So that's the goal. That was what my eye of the target was on. So with that, I focused a bit on how do I drive engagement? How do I increase our participation in terms of contributing to the citizen science data? And how do I ensure that whoever you are and whatever background you come from and whatever perspective and skills that you bring to the group, that you have an inspired experience, that you just love bird watching so much, just like the people who've been doing it since they're 4 years old, that you can actually start a bird watching group for the first time, whatever time in your life that you are, and come away going, I love bird watching and it's interesting and exciting and I can't wait to keep coming back. So those were the targets, and what were some of the measures of success? So the measure of the successes for me is, did we actually increase the amount of data that our own chapter, our own birdwatching group, nature group, contributed to community science? Did we actually increase the participation in our activities with people who were not originally part of our group? So the core folks who come all the time, who've been part of our group for many years, how many more people came to our group that weren't part of that original base group? And then do we actually have a growth in membership? Because a growth in membership means that we can provide more opportunities for people to engage with nature, that we can get more people to appreciate and, again, align with the mission of enjoying nature, making it available for others, and actually wanting to protect it. So those were the measures of success. Now, how did I do this? What was some of the paths to getting there? Well, as indicated in the title of this, the technology tale of inclusivity, technology was absolutely the enabler. So I used a program called Meetup. They have similar things around the world. It's basically an online platform that helps people find interest and then attract them to groups that might align with their interests. So I look at this as the backbone of bringing a person and creating a mosaic of people with interests and skills. You can clearly see that why that was important in the nature group. I wanted to find people who were photographers. I wanted to find people who had a background in ecology. I wanted to find people who knew nothing about birds, but they just enjoy being outside. So I did that through use of technology. Now let me parallel this to the project world. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have on your project a mosaic of people with different skills? Wouldn't it be absolutely wonderful? And doesn't this help with inclusivity when you understand and truly appreciate the interests, the perspective, the background, and the strengths that every individual team member brings that and enjoying them and appreciating them for that really helps to foster inclusivity. Because I don't just feel like I went on a site, I subscribed, I became a member of a bird group, and therefore I'm a member, I'm a subscriber. I am not a fan. I am not someone who comes back over and over again. I am not someone who says, I love this group and you need to be a part of it. On the project site, I wasn't just assigned to this project team. This is my favorite team. Like, I love this project. This is the difference that you hear when a person feels valued for what they bring, included in the team, aligned with the belief in the purpose, and they have a sense of belongingness and connectedness to the actual project itself. So here's just a quick example. The bottom is the actual tool that I use for the meetup group, for the birding and nature group called Meetup. I shared a little bit about my own profile. So you can see here it says all sorts of things. I'm not just a birder. I like camping. I'm into women's social type things. I'm an entrepreneur. I love startup activities. So from this, you can ascertain different things. I'm a business person who also like nature, who believes in kind of new organizations and startup, trying out a bit of new tech, that type of thing. I'm also a fur kid mom. There's a lot that you can learn about me just from seeing the interests that I chose to put here. Now, from this tool, the way that it works is that it then matches. Is kind of like dating for interest groups. Is if you on your profile said that you like being outside, that you like hiking, it will then come and say that you might be interested in the group that we have. So this would be an individual person's profile. My group, when I set it up, I say that we are the type of group for anyone who wants to be outside, who likes to take pictures, who enjoys conservation, who likes wildlife. All of those keyword searches, basically, it's doing a match from our group to anything that's on someone's profile. The other thing it does, which is wonderful, this is more use of machine learning, which is also great, is if you attend an activity like yoga in the garden, that shows that you like being outside, that you have some kind of sense of wanting to have Zen or mindfulness, and therefore it will then suggest our group to you. Hey, I saw you went to yoga in the garden. You might like the bird watching group that Rochelle is a part of. So that's how it does the matches. That's how we bring people in. Now, from that is all really where the magic begins, because that's where we need to then start that sense of belonging